Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the king of podcasts radio network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Fresh off of Money in the Bank this past Saturday night, going into MLW's Never Say Never pay-per-view coming up this weekend. This is the Wrestling Is Real podcast, episode 780. Thanks for listening in, finding the show as you always do, subscribing as you always do. Or you can do that at Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please make sure to rate and review. If you need to find out where to find it, pretty easy for you. WrestlingIsReal.com. That is the website for the show. And also remember, you can find it on Google Podcasts and Amazon Music. And everything that I do on the program, WrestlingIsReal.com. And everything I do, KingofPodcasts.com. KOP here with you. Thanks for listening in. Let's go and talk about it. My discussion tonight is going to be on the fact that we're doing the fallout for Money in the Bank. And we will talk about AEW, because I'm going to be critical tonight of the WWE, which has been a rare thing for me, because it's not about the bloodline. We know that is the best storyline in the business, and I've already been saying it, but I'm pretty sure I can qualify this. There can be some argument, there can be some debate, sure, but the bloodline storyline is the best storyline of the modern era. About as good as anything that could have been done with Hulk Hogan, anything that could have been done with Stone Cold Steve Austin of The Rock. I said it. There's no question to me there that we have this right now, and it is working. It is working. The bloodline, everybody's into it. The ratings are going to be as good as they can get. They can't get much higher than they can do right now. Near 3 million viewers on Fox. Closing on about 2 million viewers on Raw on a regular basis. That's about as good as it's going to get in this current age. But on social media, it's gone wild. And the crowd's loving it. What about the rest? See, the bloodline can hold on for a long time. They really landed something really good when they turned Roman Reigns heel and put him with Paul Heyman. Let's just put it like that. I can go into a broken record right now and continue to do and praise this bloodline storyline, from attaching Sami Zayn into the mix and creating something out of that mix where him and Kevin Owens have benefited greatly. Cody Rhodes being a part has benefited greatly. Solo Sikoa has greatly benefited from this. And there's still room for this bloodline story to go. The trial Roman Reigns is on Friday. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. The trial of Roman Reigns, when I read that, and it's at Madison Square Garden, by the way, as soon as I read that, I'm like, oh boy, this is good. Like, what in the world are they going to give us now? All in. Great. Good stuff. So I want to find out what that's going to be. But then there's the part about everything else that's underneath the main event. This is the part I have to be contentious with. But before we get into the whole thing with the NXT call-ups, and I'm talking about those of the black and gold from 2019 to current day, last 4 years or so. Okay, so let's go and talk about like this. WWE is not going to care about this problem right now. Of course, they never do that. When it comes to their main event, if they got something that's locked in and people are going to be into it, if it's John Cena down our throats over and over, they don't care. As long as it gets people to the arena, they're selling out seats. They're selling out arenas right now. The Money in the Bank pay-per-view itself, there was a big announcement about this after the fact. The highest grossing arena event in company history in London. So here's what we got. It grossed more than $5.4 million in one night. Also setting new records in a number of other areas, a 9% sponsorship jump in sponsorship revenue compared to the record set in 2022. Do we want to talk about why? I didn't bring this up on the program, but I'll bring it up now. Bud Light made a big advertising buy. Did everybody see that? And I don't want to talk anything about why it is. Okay, I mean, we can talk about it, but let's just say it like this. I know that people can go ahead and have their political opinions about Bud Light, and that's fine. But a marketing decision by Bud Light, which ultimately failed for Bud Light to do. I'm just going to say it like that. That was a misdecision. Probably didn't do too well, but that's what they decided to do. Well, here we are. And Bud Light now is in damage control. They would never in their normal life advertise their product with the WWE. But the things, I guess they could consider it, but never done it before. Normally they would wait, but Bud Light would wait for the NFL to go ahead and find a chance to advertise. But the problem is that the bad press right now is hurting them badly. And so Bud Light needs something to promote their events. And WWE just happens to have more than enough advertising room for them to go and do a lot of things together. So Bud Light now got into bed with WWE, which they would have never done if not for the mistake they made in their advertising decision, their marketing decision. And now they decided to do that. And I'm like, well, good for the WWE, right? The winner's toast, the summer sweepstakes, man, they're just putting some money down on this, man. Bud Light is just trying to get wrestling fans to buy beer. Buy Bud Light, which I never really necessarily cared for. I have friends of mine that really do like it, but I haven't watched it. I haven't caught up with them since football. So I don't know if they're going to be, dropping a Bud Light into their cozy to drink down. I don't know if that's going to be the point, but they do enjoy it. I don't know if they're going to enjoy it so much, if they're going to feel different about Bud Light after the fact, but I'll let you know during football season. But anyway, viewership up 17% from last year. Highest gross for venue merchandise in WWE history. Is this like more than what WrestleMania does? Yes, one of the highest grossing non-WrestleMania event for such packages in company history. This is a decision from Nick Khan that works. Nick Khan decided to make this a big money ticket event. It's now officially the 5th big show. But he's also making all the pay-per-views more or less spectacles, which has been done. Look at this. This year alone, remember, when you go back and see, okay, you had Royal Rumble start off, and then you go on to Elimination Chamber in the Saudi Arabia, right? Then you move along, you get to WrestleMania itself, WrestleMania Backlash in Puerto Rico, which was another event in its own. Hot. By the way, you can put Logan Paul out there, you can put Bad Bunny out there, Bloodline. They're banking. They're making money. They have enough attractions on the main event, part-time or full-time, to make it warranted and to get people to come to the shows. They got more than enough to get people to come over to the shows now and get involved. The singing with Seth Rollins' song, Cody going to woes, right, and all that stuff. They're all into it. They want to boo Dominic Mysterio. They want to get into that. It's great. They want to do the whoa with, Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura. All the engagement for the crowd, it's all there. It's that Paul Heyman used to always say, you want to do the things, you want to make sure that the crowd feels like, if they're watching on TV, man, I want to be in that crowd. I want to be at the live event. And that's what's going on. And so the Bloodline storyline is what is getting the best attention on television. Let's just put it like that. So Money in the Bank had the Bloodline Civil War. What a great idea for a match. Roman Reigns getting pinned by Jay. We have the trial of Roman Reigns comes up. That's going to be fantastic. Shayna Baszler finally got a chance to go ahead and explain herself to Ronda Rousey after what happened, because she's been in the shadow, which I thought it was going to be when I talked about the post show. By the way, if you did not get a chance to look, the post show for Money in the Bank, I did one. You can find it right now, WrestleGoesReal.com. It's previous episode 779. You can go and check that out for yourselves. Also, John Cena making an appearance, picking up and prompting the idea of WrestleMania going to London and Grayson Waller interrupting. Blech. So let's take Grayson Waller right there. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Now, this is a very old reference. But we're talking about 1975, right? When Saturday Night Live started. And the thing was with Saturday Night Live is that they called the original cast the Not Ready for Primetime Players. That was the nickname. We're at that point again, where hopefully some of these stars that they're trying to bring in here, there are the established stars that are obviously the nucleus of WWE right now, but the future doesn't look bright. But this is always going to change here. But the part is that with such a big behemoth of a company, you'd think that Performance Center would be doing better. Something's going on over there doesn't work right. So when I look at now, Triple H changing the dynamic of what NXT was and some of the stars that they created, when some of the younger stars they decided to develop and bring up were not panning out, one of the things that Vince McMahon would always do is change the characters. And he would do that for a number of characters, and sometimes it actually worked. Even if it was a tweak of a character. The ones that are getting over right now, it's always a tweak of a character that makes it work. Okay? Let's put it to you like this. So right now, the Alpha Academy is one example. People are kind of getting into that right now because, Maxine Dupree is now part of this. They decided to dump the Maximum Male models because Max Dupree, or now LA Knight, decided he doesn't want to do it. Thought it was lame. Okay. So let's destroy the storyline for the other stars right there. And Maxine Dupree has enough appeal to say, well, let's get her in the ring. First of all, we had her as a manager. And now we're going to put her in, and she got herself involved with Otis, got herself involved with Otis and Chad, and now she's part of Alpha Academy. She's now the third person. And now she brings in an incredible difference to what goes on. Sometimes WWE will always stumble into something that will work. With Judgment Day, one of the things I think is the nucleus that keeps that group together before Dominic became such a big deal is Rhea Ripley. Because Rhea Ripley on her own wasn't doing it. Her being attached to Nikki Cross as a superhero, almost a superhero, right? Nikki ASH, right? There was that. It didn't work. And then Rhea gets in here. She gets brought into the Judgment Day, and it just works. And when I saw her jump into the Judgment Day, I was like, something's right about this. And Edge putting her in this faction was a smart move. Very smart move. And this has worked. The Judgment Day has worked right now. We are now having the infighting. Perfect. We wanted that too. That got brought into Raw, as I thought. I love that. And then we go into the part where there are some other stars we have that maybe we can see if something's going to happen with them. I think Shayna Baszler getting a chance to work with Ronda Rousey here. If Ronda Rousey is going to be leaving soon and Shayna gets a chance to go ahead and work with Ronda on the way out, great for Shayna. She finally gets her comeuppance in a proper way as a single star, which is what we need in that women's division for her to do. Because she was being used, not very well since she moved up. Always thought there was potential for her anyway. Now we're getting this. A couple of years later, but at least it's here. So now, Shayna Baszler, after some tweaking, after attaching her to Ronda Rousey, and their relationship works. And now Shayna Baszler has a chance to get over in the right way. Well, what about the others? Like, there's a number of stars to the NXT call-ups that are not hitting the mark. One of those, and it was interesting, people were talking about this, and I had to pull this story up because people just said it. Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, we're going to add her into that mix too. The whole thing with the Johnny Gargano way storyline that was there, and the crowd doesn't like it. I was not one of the only ones who talked about it, but I told you, I said it, Candice LeRae's not working out here. So let's talk about this. Vivek Sharma as Sportskeeda writes about, release her now. Triple H is such a fraud. So her booking since her return to WWE, Candice LeRae. Now, of course, she was on maternity leave and she had, had a child. Congratulations to their family, her and Johnny. Great. She made a return to the promotion after Hunter took charge of the creative team. And she was not released. Well, she was released during Triple H's time. And her booking since her return has been a cause of major concern among fans. She won the NXT Tag Team titles on one occasion with Indy Hartwell. Part of the developmental brand, she did not renew her contract because of her pregnancy. She returned in September last year to the main roster. And this is when Triple H took over. And these are some of the decisions he made. I'm like, we could try to go and review what he's done, because right now we are almost at SummerSlam time. We're almost at the first anniversary of Triple H getting the reins of the company after the whole stink of last year with Vince McMahon, because we're here now. And there are some stars they pulled up and they made a big deal out of at SummerSlam, remember? Damage Control, which is kind of split up right now. It's like, whatever. And Io Sky now is kind of moving on to a singles run and now holding the Money in the Bank briefcase. So there's a storyline there that's different, and Bayley has not been used well since. I think the Damage Control storyline has hurt her and has brought her down a notch from where she was. So Candice and Indy were teamed up together for the women's tag team title #1 contendership Turmoil on Raw, and their team was eliminated first. And people on Twitter got on to about it. Let's talk about how Candice LeRae has been booked since her comeback. One person says it's beyond annoying because the casual fan base have no idea how talented she is because she's been booked horrendously. Another, she's been so misused, is frustrating. Another, Triple H is such a fraud. Another, release her now. She's better off on the indies, on her AEW where she's actually respected. Her and Johnny deserve so much better. Her last win on Raw was in February. And that was when she defeated Piper Niven. By the way, Piper Niven has not been around at all. Have we seen her at all since she changed her name from Doudrop? Really? Not really. She lost multiple singles matches, tag team matches. All of her victories have been on main event or the live circuit. So yeah, buried. No one's caring. There was a feud teased between LeRae and Nikki Cross, but that storyline was dropped. And so Nikki Cross, also from the NXT brand, changing her from the superhero back to her sanity character. That's another person on the brand that is not working. Not working. Say what you will. Triple H doesn't have the magic to pull some of these stories along and get them over into the level that it is. This is where Vince and his team actually were able to do something. To get them regularly involved in the process, no. But in the polishing of the product, yes. And I'm going to say this over and over. And people are not going to like to hear this answer, but that's just where we are right now. That Vince, for whatever reason, if it's him or some of his people under his team, under his cohort, they still get it. Something's going on with this is right. And like, okay, when you see Nikki Cross or Candice LeRae, not working. Grayson Waller, not working. Braun Breaker making an appearance, not working. Carmelo Hayes making an appearance, not working. And you can tell the difference. And part of it is because in the NXT brand, there was a lot of people working with each other. What you see right now that in the veteran side of NXT, you're getting some veteran stars making their way down there to try to go ahead and build that brand up, to get some of those stars over. But some of the stars they have over there that are being put at the very top are bland. Meanwhile, there could have been some that could have really stood out and really stood out. Mandy Rose would have been one of them. And I'm surprised no one ever put some kind of a deal to get her back somewhere because she was getting over big. Toxic Attraction was ready to go. And you know what? Gigi Dolan, JC Jane probably would have made their way up. Gigi Dolan would have probably done well as a breakup from those three, but in the three right there, but it didn't happen. What about Legado de Fantasma? Well, you tweaked them to LWO. You decided to go ahead and change them. And Santos Escobar is the only guy getting attached, and then Zelina Vega brought into the mix. There you go. But the rest of that group, nothing. And then you think about, okay, well, what about the Mafia stuff with Tony D'Angelo? Nah. What are you going to get out of that? And I look at what they're doing with Joe Gacy and what they're doing with, Chase U. Do you think any of those gimmicks are going to make their way up to the main roster and really stand out? Or they're going to look hokey when they get to the main roster and they're done because they only work in that performance center. You want to put anything up in front of those 500 people at the performance center? Yeah, they're going to go ahead and, clap like seals for all the shit they're doing because it's Shawn Michaels doing it. Because they can't damn well shit on Shawn Michaels doing work over there on his booking. Or Bruce Pritchard or whoever's doing stuff down there. But people can't help themselves but to go ahead and blame Vince. All the rumors and all the stories. Oh, well, look at this. Vince is involved in the storyline. He's changing scripts. Well, I don't see the difference. Because part of it is I don't care about the internal TV product on a regular basis. I can watch it, but I'm not necessarily attached. And I hate to say it, but that's where it is right now anyway, because I don't know anybody that's watching full shows like that all the way through anymore. I don't see it. Do you? Because I don't. And it's one of those things where you have to realize it's just not going to be that way anymore. Not right now anyway. I don't think so. And so, what are you going to do here? I just don't know. But I'm not getting much out of it anyway. Okay? These are the issues that they're dealing with right now, and there's not much more that could be said. They're just struggling right now on that end. The NXT developmental unit at NXT, the Performance Center, is not panning out some good things. Not right now. Not right now. Don't tell me they are. I just don't believe it. And then we go along and look at the stars they've had around for a long time, and they brought back. Okay. When I look at what we've had so far, and they brought back up, there's a story that came out from Sports a while back where the black and gold was always praised. We know that. And there have been enough podcast brethren out there to go along and talk about it. Got that. Now, fansite or dailyddt.com actually put things out that I talked about when it comes to the NXT Black and Gold and their credit for the impact on professional wrestling. So NXT, if you think about it right now, you think about, okay, some of the great things that Triple H was a part of. Aleister Black versus Tommaso Ciampa, Sasha versus Bayley, War Games, a last woman standing match. Sure. You think about Undisputed Era, of which none of those stars now are in on the main roster. They left. Justifiably so. When you're looking at everything going on for 2019 after. So when after Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, all those, Ricochet, all moved up. And now we're at this point here. LA Knight might be this sensation right now to the crowds. And he's getting viral on social media. Do you want to know something? And you're going to hate this. You're going to hate me for saying this. The LA Knight has the viral buzz of a Zack Ryder. What, about a decade ago? I don't judge or blame LA Knight for this. He has a ceiling on this character. Because he decided to go against the Maximum Male Models gimmick, you could have just let the gimmick go through, let it fizzle out, and become something else. Because it's obvious to this company, they do not want to let LA Knight get over on this gimmick. They don't want to get LA Knight over because all the Triple H did was make Eli Drake get a name change. That's it. If you want to know what the character of Eli Drake has been, it is what he's been in Impact Wrestling, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and NWA Power. That's it. Eli Drake. That's the character you're getting right now under the name LA Knight. And just because it's on WWE's brand, then the crowd's going to go ahead and get to a froth. But it doesn't matter. There's a ceiling on him, and it's going to stay like that because he was not someone at the beginning as Slate Randall that was going to get over. there's just some people that are not made to be in this company. And if they're going to be in this company, they're not going to go that much higher. And remember, anybody that comes from another company, especially the Impact TNA wrestling kind of thing, there's not a lot of them to get over. EC3, what a culprit right there. That's a victim right now of circumstance. AJ Styles breaks the mold. Christian, he struggled in that mold for a long time before he got himself to the World Heavyweight title, right? And then you look at some of the other stars they had in and out, right? Keith Lee fizzled out. And they were putting him in there. Karrion Kross, the darling of NXT in the black and old gold era. And he would be injured here and there. Hey, man, listen, Triple H gave him everything, man. They gave him the gimmick back. They didn't do the whole thing with the helmet. They took all that stuff out. They went ahead and gave us the Karrion Kross of before. And what has happened? It's nothing. They brought Scarlett and they gave us the opener. Did the main roster really care? No. The NXT audience, that fickle fan audience, the fickle fan base, okay, the ones in a bubble, that it has to be in WWE and it has to be done their way. And it has to be, they're on our team, they're on our side. We're not going to root for them. We're not going to support them if they're on another brand. Because if it's not WWE, it doesn't matter. It's like the Yankees. We don't care what you did anywhere else. What did you do for us? That's it. But the not for any NXT players. Tommaso Ciampa, another example. This guy could be excelling anywhere else. And they put him in, okay, attached to The Miz. It hasn't really worked out too well because he got injured. He's come back now. But even he had not come out and really done enough. Aleister Black, we're going to get into a fight. Well, okay, they booked him badly too. And that was a mistake. But AEW's done a pretty good job with him. House of Black is freaking great. But Buddy Matthews and Brody King, that's a hell of a group. They're on Collision every week. And they're out there and, the storylines, I mean, they're just out there to kicking ass. And then this guy from Daily DDT talks about how the biggest wrestling company in the world was putting on an indie show with all of its resources at its disposal. And that's part of what people wanted. Because the fickle fan base, this core audience of some of the fans that come to these shows, they want that indie feel. They want WWE to conform to the indie feel. This is why we hear the complaints about, well, they're not doing what the fans want. And we remember when the McMahons and Triple H said, we're going to give you what you want, right? The point is that they're not going to do the indie-rific stuff. All this stuff with The Way and Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae and Karrion Kross, it is indie-rific. LA Knight, indie-rific. It's all indie. It's all independent style stuff. This is why if you want to talk about years ago, the Sammy Guevaras, the Darby Allins would have never gotten the WWE, right? But AEW's made some stars right now with some of the guys they have. Even with Jungle Boy Jack Perry, now changing him heel and turning that character into a different thing altogether. Hook. Some of these might be indie-rific, but I'll tell you what, AEW does something to get them a bit more exposure. They're not so indie-rific anymore. There are established characters. But takes a while for that brand to get off and going. I mean, hell, Collision is tumbling right now. They're getting the Rampage ratings right now, dropping from 800,000 to 500,000 to 400,000. It's not good. They have to figure things out on Saturday night. What are they doing that it's not getting the audience there? But they're going to struggle in that time slot because it's brand new. Nobody was doing Saturday nights at 8 o'clock for a long time. And they got to figure things out before they get over to football season. When college football gets here, when basketball gets here, when all the seasons start back up, and then when WWE starts putting on pay-per-views at the same time as them, that's going to be an issue for them as well. They're going to struggle with that. So all that going on, they were given the time slot. They got to figure out what to do with it. Now that they've been given this, it's a gift. Now they have to make this gift become something that will sprout up and be very something special. With NXT and the call-ups they've had, you got some stars that you could have booked them better. Sure. And you think, the indie-rific, we just got to get them more out there. Like Johnny Gargano just needs more matches. He needs to win a title. Karrion Kross, let's get him with a title. Let's get him some real feuds. Well, no. But this is normal for the company in general. Like, look, They can have a Bray Wyatt, and they've failed with him a bunch of different times, and he still gets over. But they keep making mistakes with him, and they keep changing the character over and over. It just the evolving of that character has just not worked out right. But that's the part of what we have. And then it's funny where I saw a story where Carmelo Hayes talking about how he'd like to get the black and gold era of NXT back. And he was on After the Bell. And he says, there's so many studs still left on the roster. So many good guys that, have that black and gold era type style that people always say that they miss and they want. So I look forward to having those types of matches with guys. Remember, you guys wanted to go ahead and talk all about the fact that NXT was so great in the indie era, or the black and gold era, but they were going up week after week against Dynamite. And AEW Dynamite won all but a couple of weeks? In a couple of years, they kept dominating. Do you understand? WWE has to be a higher end product. They realize what kind of stars work on their brand some way, somehow. Do they fail? Oh, yeah. They fail forward and then they land by accident on stuff that works. All the time it happens. That's just the onus of this company. It's an entertainment company. They're going to find something that will entertain the crowd and it will get over organically, somehow, some way. Took a long time for Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns to get to where they are, but hell, 10 years in the company plus, and they're over, man, doing the whole Shield thing. And I'll tell you, there's just so much there that they could do so much more with. And NXT has the likes of Dijakovic, Dragon Lee, Ilya Dragunov, Tyler Bate, Wesley, right? But like I said, man, some of the stuff they're doing right now, are there some stars that are getting over that are also exceptions to the rule? Sure. Gunther, he's over. I can't say the rest of Imperium, because Imperium it's Gunther. That's the guy. In NXT, they try to make it all four of them, but Gunther's the champ. And if you talk about like what Gunther's done, listen, you put him against Sheamus, you put him against Drew McIntyre, that's big. Strong style, world of sport, that works. So they're keeping him there, and he's one of the guys that could have gone over anywhere. Gunther has the size or whatever for it. Remember these smaller guys they have on the brands, like Grayson Waller's of the world. No, it's not going to work. Braun Breaker is a one-dimensional character. You're not going to like to hear this either, but Braun Breaker is going to probably have a change of character by the time he moves up to the main roster. Braun Breaker cannot be the Braun Breaker now on that main roster. It just will not work. There's so much potential in this guy. Come on, he's wrestling royalty. Nepotism should work. You should be able to get this third generation star up and going over. Can't be a reason why they can't happen, right? So let's see or second generation, excuse me. So let's just see what they can go and do with it and really make something happen. Like, I just need to see something come up here that'll make the difference. But I can tell you for a fact, there's probably about 4 or 5 things that people will go to these shows to go watch. It's the Bloodline. Anything with the Bloodline, they're in. Okay? Anything that was attached to the Bloodline. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins to a point. They're going to come to see him. Like that right there alone. And Rhea Ripley, that's awesome. Bianca Belair, they're all alone right. They're all going to get over, man. They're all going to get over. Bianca Belair got over. But right now, she does need a bit of a change. Something needs to happen with her. That's unfortunate. But there's just so much right now that they got that is going right. There's more than enough to entertain people to watch the shows. And able to kind of retain an audience they can have, the audience they have left. Prior to the eroding, which was going to happen anyway. We've talked about that. Again, I can be a broken record and keep talking about it. Work rate is fine, but remember, WWE is a different bag. You can't expect that on this show. Not on Raw or SmackDown. You can expect somewhat of that on the pay-per-views. Okay? But when you think about the matches they had on NXT, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, right? Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano. Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne. DIY on the Revival. Yeah. But if you think of those stars, how many of those really stand out in the main roster? Well, Revival's not here. And do I think they would get over if they move back over? No. No, I don't think the Revival, they would have to go back to the Revival, and the whole Top Guys thing, the whole Midnight Express feel to it, it worked because they did give them a feel of a classic gimmick. The feel of the Midnight Express, giving them a similar music, giving the whole deal, the Top Guys. And this is where Dax and Cash made their own characters together, also working great matches with a lot of great stars, okay? Tag team wrestling mattering in other places. We see that. And that's one of those things you got to think about as well, that AEW does better with some of the indie stars they have. They can do that. Somehow, with the stars that they have, with the people that they have over there, they can do more with, right? That's what we do realize, is that some of these stars that were in the black and gold era, they're being booked better on AEW. WWE is not made to do that. Because AEW is proving themselves to be able to take indie stars and escalate them to another level. Are they at the level of WWE? No, but there's a secondary level. Because right now, AEW is a platform that is big enough to give the exposure to these stars to make them get over. Because 4 years ago, MJF wouldn't have gotten to this level. He would have never gotten to WWE without the AEW brub. FTR would not be the level where they were if it were not for AEW. Okay? Keith Lee is getting pushed to where he should be, but he still hasn't been pushed to a lot of things. They gave him, Shane and Keith were together. Swerve and Keith were good together, and they did that. I think they're starting to find their footing with Andrade once again now. Him with House of Black. I'm looking at Adam Cole and attaching him to MJF. And when Adam Cole came back from injury, the story with Chris Jericho was great. That was a good setup for matches, right? Jericho gives a good rub, and here we go. We're moving along again. And then I just think about, okay, WWE does not mean to be taking stars that are not theirs. They did not develop themselves. But they're not doing a good job with the ones that developed themselves in the first place. When you look at Braun Breaker, Grayson Waller, and sometimes they hit it off right. Bianca Belair, there's just so much charisma in that young lady that just works. Street Profits, there's so much charisma in them that was going to work anyway as well. They're also with a ceiling, because I think Street Profits, you're never going to see them as champions. But they're still over more or less. It's just the gimmick. It's just not the bloodline. That's all. And then I look at Rhea Ripley. Well, you attach her to the Judgment Day, and then now her and Dominic Mysterio, Dirty Dom, works. I mean, just absolutely. So there's just so many things they're doing right, and they get right on the money on some of these. And that works. So that is Triple H in the work of taking some stars where there's a couple that are actually making it over and doing well. But you know what? When I look at the rest of the roster and who they're trying to work with, there's just not a lot there to work with, right? And so I'm looking at what we have, and I'm like, okay, I want to get more from what's happening. I really do. And so let me look at what we got. The fallout from Raw this past Monday night. When I look at it, Rhea Ripley and Natalya, great match, of course. Seth and Cody to start things off. Brock coming in now, setting up for the SummerSlam. If we're going to get a triple threat, is that what the deal is? Or Seth confronting, Cody confronting Seth about that World Heavyweight title. And Rollins was Damian Priest and all this stuff going on. So there are contenders for the World Heavyweight title because nobody's going after Roman Reigns right now. And then you look, okay, the tag team turmoil. Now that Liv and Raquel have the belts again, you set that up. Becky Lynch still dealing with Trish Stratus. That's a storyline that can continue. It works. You're attaching Zoe Stark, which, by the way, Zoe Stark has done nothing for me, in my opinion, to make me feel anything about her yet. But the Trish Stratus rub could work. That's smart to do. Let's see if we can get something where Zoe Stark gets to identify her character rubbing off of Trish Stratus, because we need something from that. Let's see if it works. Alpha Academy, you get Maxine out there to work this match. But by the way, Viking Raiders still dead in the water. I mean, they're out there, man. They're giving this gimmick, and they added Valhalla. Look, it's just not getting over yet. And I don't know if it will. They're trying, man. They're doing all this stuff. It's like this, there's just certain things that they're trying to do the dark and broody. It's not working on the main roster because the main roster is all color. All right. So Karrion Kross, Viking Raiders, you can't go black and gold to go black and gold. Like the color scheme is also different. WWE is more of a rainbow feel to it. Doesn't work here. And people don't understand that. So what are they going to do about it? Okay. And then Tommaso Ciampa and The Miz, they're now going after each other. That's the setup here. They're going to have a no DQ match next week. All right. Io Sky teasing Money in the Bank briefcase. Here you go, got that. Finn Balor at odds with Damian. We got that going on. Matt Riddle still dealing with Imperium, and Matt Riddle still hasn't gotten me back to anything because you made him the black and gold version of himself, and it's not working. You took away most of the hokey stuff and, getting on the scooter and all that. If it was working with Randy, are you telling me that Matt Riddle couldn't have gotten over without? But he probably has a ceiling right now because of what happened to him when he got suspended. Austin Theory is one of the ones that has gotten over. The attachment to Vince McMahon. Hey, it worked. And they're keeping that U.S. title on him. He's had convincing wins. It's working for him. Austin Theory is getting over. It's working. The guy's got himself in amazing condition. He's working his ass off. And I could have told you, man, when I watched that Evolve 10th anniversary, yeah, the guy's got something, man. There's an it factor to that guy. He speaks well, gets confident in the ring. Keep going A-Town down. It's working. It's working for him. And they moved him to SmackDown. That's the promotion. They're just going to have to figure everything out and go from there. And they need to figure out with some of these other stars that the NXT black and gold idea, it cannot fester. It cannot exist on the main roster. It just doesn't work. So you don't like the idea when they tweak characters and move them over and do this and that. It's the only way it works because this crowd is much more vanilla than the NXT crowd in Performance Center. And by the way, they're not pulling the NXT shows like the old days of NXT takeovers. We're not getting those kind of crowds with 10, 15,000 at Barclays Center or, San Jose and all this stuff leading up to WrestleMania. We're not getting those crowds. You can't get those kind of crowds for that. You're getting crowds again for some of the shows you're getting, but what, 3,000 to 5,000 venues? You're getting AEW venues for that. You're not getting the big venues. And even when you're doing the special events, like, you got the Great American Bash coming up, or you had, the other event that came up just last month, the monthly kind of things they're doing. They're still getting 600,000 viewers. Pretty much it. They're getting a third of what Raw is and a fourth of what SmackDown gets, roughly. A few more things I want to bring in before we're going to wrap things up. For whatever reason now, Roman Reigns' TikTok has been banned. He's got 1.3 million followers and 7.3 million likes. But we don't know what's going on and why it's happened, but yes. Roman Reigns banned from TikTok. What the hell is that, man? NXT, we talked with Road Dogg, actually went on the Oda You Didn't the Road broadcast podcast, his own. The opening of the Performance Center and the impact the facilities had on the business. And Road Dogg says, I think NXT still to this day is going through growing pains. I wouldn't say pains because I think it's exactly by design, but going through growth spurts where, man, they were black and gold to hardcore indie, almost like a Progress or Evolve or whatever with a huge budget. It was a really core audience for that. It was like a third brand for a minute. Now they're thinking more like, okay, we need to probably get back to being developmental. They really went hard back on that. Now I think they're trying to find a balance. Went too far this way, went too far this way. How can we make the best of both worlds while still developing young talent and also have a third brand? A third brand that sells merchandise, sells television rights, still developing itself into exactly what it needs to be. He's not wrong. And so NXT has been making some pivots. They are tweaking as they go along, and they haven't figured it out. So right now we're learning about that. WrestleTix is actually reporting that Wembley Stadium right now already got an $8 million gate so far for ticket sales. A historic event for the promotion. AEW's first ever show in the country. First biggest attended show in company history. They're closing in on 75,000 tickets. They've sold 74,888 as of this report right here from WrestlingNews.co. And the current setup right now is for 87,825. Shit. Great stuff for them. Love that. And so now what I got left is I'm wondering what AEW needs to do to be able to get themselves up to move along forward, to get them something that's going to really stand out and help to get the brand up better. The problem is that they're going with a lot of younger stars. And I mean, I think what they're doing with Collision is very well done. Don't get me wrong, but that's a Saturday crowd. You're trying to get shows that people to commit to that show. So the booking for that show, they're putting out 4 main events, man. They're putting out 4 matches. They are promoting the hell out of it up front, trying to get people to show up. I think Tony Khan has to just keep going with what he's doing. Not much more you can do about all that and just kind of move forward. So he's trying. Don't think he's not. He is trying right now. It's just not enough there. So we're waiting. Just got to figure out what it's going to be. It's going to be tough. But they had to make the pivot to get the younger stars more exposure and have them try to go ahead and prop up the brand. MJF is champion. Have the numbers been great? No, not really. The numbers have been suffering, and I think part of it is that, they're trying to go ahead and figure out to get some of the stars out there. Listen, you can go ahead and put it forward with CM Punk and sandwich them in every week to see what they can get out of it. But at the moment, Collision has struggled. It's standalone on Saturday nights. But people are going out on Saturday nights. Like, what are you going to do to get them to go and commit and say, okay, we're going to go watch every week? And I don't know if they're going to have the ability to go and get a consistently solid base of fans to watch every week. We'll have to figure it out. But they're also tweaking the show, trying different stars and see what they can do and what will work. They haven't had a lot of title matches so far. They just taken a lot of former WWE stars and really put them in front and center. Andrade's constantly on there. CM Punk's constantly on there. Revival, it's going to be the FTR's constantly on there. Miro. They're definitely going after certain stars and putting it there like that. They did bring MJF on, but still, they're just trying to figure things out. MJF and Ethan Page, I don't necessarily think that was a great start to that show this past week. Don't get me wrong, Ethan Page is really good, but the Insta match, I don't like that on any brand, and I don't think it would work here either. There's just something wrong with that. Anyways, but across the board, Rampage suffers from the fact that it was just kept moving around through the NBA playoffs. Couldn't do much about that. And it was that, so much other things. And then when it comes to looking at the ratings so far, if you go back to since WrestleMania season, they've been consistently around 700 to 900,000 viewers. That's it. They're in a consistent stop right there with the audience. They're not getting much more than that. It's still more than the audience that goes on to watch NXT regularly, which is between 500 and 600,000. Sometimes they get a little over 700,000 on certain shows. If they bring certain stars back, because remember, with Seth Rollins going up against Braun Breaker, bringing the World Heavyweight title over, they got a bump for that. Gold Rush. Meanwhile, if I'm looking at other shows, you look at what SmackDown does, consistently 2.0 to 2.4 million viewers for their show is consistent. Works really well. And then I look right now, and I'm actually kind of very happy and surprised, but Impact Wrestling's getting some audience. They're consistently over 100,000 viewers now, between 113 and 145. And you know what? That's also attributable to Nick Aldis and Trinity making it over to the brands. I think that made a bit of a difference for them. And some of the other stars they have are just working out right. They just got some different, interesting things going on their roster over there. It's right now the current incarnation is solid. So let's get into what we got coming up now with wrestling, with pay-per-views coming up. There are a couple. And this weekend, it's time for me to go and talk about MLW's Never Say Never, which is coming up this Saturday. I believe it's at 8 o'clock start time. This is great. I am looking forward to this. It's one of those things where I'm just happy to see it. Happy to see where you got to hear. It's good stuff. And so let's get into it. Here's what we got right now. We got 12 matches on the card. I'll do preview predictions for it right now for it. I think it's a good matches set up. So Second Gear Crew, which is Matthew Justice and One Call Manders, will take on The Calling, which is the flock, basically the new Raven flock, Delirious and Dr. Cornwallis. So the Raven has this crew right now, and that's really interesting. And I saw that he added Mandy Leon to the roster on MLW, and now she's part of The Calling, which is interesting. Gene Snitsky against a unknown opponent, Tiara James versus Becca in a singles match. They try to make a big thing out of Becca. I'm not much into that character in the featherweight division of the women's, not much. Ichiban versus TJ Crawford, and then we go into the 5-way scramble match, which is Willie Mack will take on O'Shea Edwards, Ken Broadway, Nola Catano, and versus Love, Doug. I don't see where Willie Mack does not win this match. I really don't know much about the others. And I've heard of some of them from the O'Shea Edwards and Ken Broadway from the Indies, right? Microman in the main event and a trios match. He's accompanied with Jay Leon and Midas Black against Jesus Rodriguez, the former Ricardo Rodriguez, and the FBI's Little Guido and Ray Jazz. These matches don't make much of a difference to me. They're just filling up the card. Timothy Thatcher and Tracy Williams. This is the part of the card I don't care for. But let's get into the card that does matter. The Never Say Never card really is 5 matches that make a difference to me. So Sam Adonis will take on Mance Warner in a country whipping match. And let me just tell you, every time I put Mance Warner in an extreme match, those things are ridiculous. They go over the top with Mance Warner. They really like to do that. Mance Warner just doesn't care. He's extreme. Like, he would have fit in ECW, I feel like. That guy would have been a fit in ECW in the old Paul Heyman days, just saying that. Dummy XO, who's the now newly crowned women's featherweight champion. She's defending her title against Ava Edward. It's a winner-take-all match. Ava Edward is the WXW women's champion. This should be a fun match. WXO is okay. She beat Taya Valkyrie for the belt. She's the second women's featherweight champion. See how she does. And then we get Calvin Tankman coming back. I haven't seen him in a while. Heavyweight Hustle. And him and Jacob Fatu, a bunch of hosses out there. Some hosses now. Get ready for this. Oh boy. So we got that coming up. And as for the MLW National Openweight Championship, which is good. They're at the 2300 Arena, by the way, in Philadelphia. So we're doing ECW type stuff. A Fans Bring the Weapons tag team match. It's the MLW World Tag Team titles. Samoan SWAT team, Lance Anoa'i and Juicy Finau, who's a big boy, against the Callings, Akira and Ricky Shane Page. That's going to be a hell of a match. Like, you're getting some real gruesome kind of stuff for Philadelphia with the country whipping match and that Samoan SWAT team match. They're giving a good show. Court Bauer, man. You know, we'll see, let's see. But he's given us something that we'll see, and let's see how it works out. Alex Kane will go after the MLW World Heavyweight Champion, which has been accompanied by Alexander Hammerstone, who's held the belt for over 800 days. Let's go into the predictions. All right, I'm saying Alex Kane's new MLW World Heavyweight Champion. I think he takes the belt off of Hammerstone. I think the Samoan SWAT team They'll drop the belts to the Calling. I think Jacob Fatu will beat Calvin Tankman, but that'll be a hell of a match. Del Exo, I think, will take the ML. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to take Del Exo for the win. She'll be winner take all. I'll take Mance Warner over Sam Adonis in the country women match. I'll take Timothy Thatcher. I'll take Microman in the main event. I'll take Willie Mack. I will take TJ Crawford. I will take Becca. I can't say Gene Snitsky. I don't know who his opponent is. And I will take the Calling to also win the tag team match because I think they're going to do more with the Calling going forward. And by the way, no Dario Cueto, right? No, what's his name on there again? Cesar Duran, that's right. Damn, I don't know what's going on right now with him, but we haven't seen much of him as of late. But there we go. Good stuff overall. And that's coming up this weekend. I will be doing a post show for Never Say Never right here on the program. Look for that. One of the few places you're going to find an MLW post show. I did it for Saturday Night Super Fight back a few years ago. Now we're back to this again. Thank you, Court Bauer. I'm looking forward to the pay-per-view. I can't wait to watch it. So that's Saturday night. Look for that right here at WrestlingIsReal.com. And that's the show for tonight. Thanks for listening in, finding the shows you always do. Remember, you can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe. If you haven't done so, please subscribe on the YouTube channel at King of Podcasts. I need to get the 500 subscribers so I can start monetizing the feed. And I would really appreciate all of you doing that. So please tell more people about it. And remember, you can find all my programming stuff at kingofpodcasts.com, the King of Podcast Wrestling Radio Network. Radio Network is all on there. And of course, I'm on social media. You can find me Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook at King of Podcasts. Until this Saturday, enjoy Never Say Never. Come back for another Wrestling Is Real podcast. And we'll talk about Summerversary next week because wrestling needs us.